Welcome back to Wealth and Mobility Insights, a podcast by Gallant Toole. I'm your host, Sarah, and today we're diving into the episode 4 of our ongoing exploration of the Trump Gold Card. Now, if you've been with us from the beginning, you already know the basics, what the Gold Card is, how it works, who it might be for. But today we're taking one step further. We're not just going to be talking about the process, but we're also talking about possibility. And with me is Kanav, lawyer, chartered accountant, and a trusted advisor to many of the families who are thinking the Trump's Gold Card, not just as a transaction, but also as a long-term decision. Welcome, Kanav.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I'm really excited to be part of this podcast today. We're going to be talking about the gold card. I hear so many people reaching out to me wanting to know more. I think it has created a lot of buzz. So I'm all ears. Let's jump right in and understand what this gold card is all about.
Perfect, Kanav. Let's begin. So, Kanav, from a wealth management lens, what are some of the key features of the Trump's Gold Card that you think might attract high net worth individuals looking at the US residency?
See, Sarah, primarily, there is this promise of giving you a permanent US residency, right? And then a path for citizenship, obviously, at an investment of $5 million, which is obviously attractive to both long-term access to the US market, right? So you get your residency, you get your PR first, and then you get your citizenship. Alongside this, I think what is simply groundbreaking is that what they've announced, and as we hear about it more, we'll probably have more insights. There is one, obviously, it was announced there is no job creation requirement like EB5, and then there is no taxation on your overseas income. Currently, as the law stands, if you are a US passport holder or a US resident, then you have to pay taxes on your global income. But if you have got your residency through the gold card, you do not have to pay taxes on a global income. So I think that's really game changing.
Okay, so let's dig into this a little bit more. Okay, the program reportedly exempts the gold card holders from US taxes on overseas incomes, right? This benefit is not actually available to the US citizens. How significant is this tax perk to your clients, and how does it really influence their decision to pursue the gold card or not?
I think this tax exemption, whenever it was announced, this tax exemption was basically a game changer for, I would say, ultra wealthy clients who are looking for, who primarily were not entering the EB5 because they always were under the impression that their overseas income are going to get taxed. And I think Trump heard them. So there is no taxation on global income. Just giving you a very small example, if a client with over $10 million of overseas revenue, I think they can avoid significant tax liabilities. So the fee of 5 million, one-time fee, as I may call, of 5 million, that is also invested in bonds and it's going to come after, come back in 5 to 10 years. So that makes the whole investment amount slightly more palatable.
Yeah, when you actually put it in numbers, it's easy to see how that could overweigh the upfront investment pretty quickly for the ultra wealthy. But of course, cost is not always a factor, right? So let's talk about how this stacks up against the EB5. The
Yeah.
gold card has actually been described as a successor to the EB5 visa, but it's actually 5 times the price and it actually does not require any job creation, right? So, from a client's value standpoint, how do these two compare?
See, the EB5 program has been there since a lot of time, and that essentially means that you have to invest a fee ranging from 800,000 to $1 million in investment, and then create 10 jobs, and then basically you become eligible. There has been a lot of scam in this program too, and sometimes the investment that you put in to development, real estate or any other such opportunity, you don't get that money back. So there are more compliance requirements under the EB5 program because obviously you're investing in a property, and some of these developers are shady developers, if I may say so. And then you have to create 10 jobs. But when it comes to Gold Card, the fee might look, obviously the fee is almost five times. You're putting in $5 million, but what comes with it is tax benefit, and then there are no requirement of job creation. And then I think it would be more suitable for an ultra high net worth sort of client.
Right, that's helpful. It's also less about starting something new, but also more about buying access and flexibility without a red tape.
Yeah.
Now, zooming out a little bit, other countries like Greece and Portugal offer golden visas at a much lower price. Do
Hmm.
you think the gold card offers enough benefits to justify that 5 million tag in comparison?
I think so. I think US market probably is more suitable when you're comparing it to European market for some entrepreneurs, because obviously it's a major economy, it's a big economy. So if you're wanting to set up business there, then obviously US will obviously be a better choice vis-a-vis any European country that is offering a golden card. So there are differences, price is a difference, but then when you add the tax benefit, I think it's a great program.
Right. So while Europe also offers access at a discount, the US still holds a certain weight that is very hard to replicate.
That's true.
Right. Let's turn a little bit towards the market now.
Hmm.
Have you received inquiries from clients about the gold card since its announcement? If so, what are some of the primary motivations or concerns that they might have?
I think the primary motivation always is US citizenship, and then the tax benefit comes alongside it. There are still some countries, where it is a matter of prestige if you hold a US passport. So I think that is what is attracting people. And now that it is easily accessible or is soon going to be easily accessible, and if you have money, people are going to definitely go for it. And then secondly, to answer your other question, we have started getting a lot of inquiries, primarily from people from Vietnam, from Philippines, other Middle East countries. We also have some inquiries coming from Hong Kong, and we also have inquiries coming from Middle East.
Makes sense, makes sense. It's always interesting to see how quickly news like this resonates globally, especially with clients who are already looking at US as a base. Now, Trump's team says this could be a big win for the US economy. The
Hmm.
administration claims that this program could actually help reduce the national debt and stimulate a lot of growth. From your perspective, do you see a real economic benefit in here?
Yeah, yeah. See, what Trump announced was that they're going to be offering 1 million gold cards. And if you multiply it by 5 million per gold card, you're looking at probably a number closer to 5 trillion US dollars, right? So obviously the demand as of now is questionable, but potentially 5 trillion US dollars. Although there are no job creation mandates, so direct impact to the economy could be limited. But when such ultra high net worth individuals come into your economy, obviously the real estate sector would get a boost. The tax revenue from domestic spendings could also help. But the overall income, but the overseas income exemption that they're going to be providing also does reduces the fiscal impact.
Right, right. So it might not be just a direct job engine like EP5, but there is still indirect economic lift, right? Especially in the luxury markets.
Yes, yes.
But of course, there is still a lot we don't know about. There is still uncertainty about implementation, legal approvals, program structure, all of that. What are the biggest financial or legal risks clients should keep in mind before jumping right in?
I think once it is fully announced, there is no risk because your money is secured through bonds, right? Bonds, as you know, and I think we covered in one of the previous podcasts too, that bonds with the US Treasury are probably the safest investment in the whole world. So when the program gets announced, I do not see any risk, like none. However, as of now, obviously, the Congress approval might be needed, although Trump says it's not. So that is something that, as the time passes by, we'll have to see. Uh, the clients have also to consider how potentially US incomes they earn in future could have an impact on their home countries. So this is something that they have to see. And then obviously they also might have to consider if there are any uh, operational risk, or if there are any risks related to their profile that they would not want to highlight.
Absolutely. 5 million is actually a serious commitment, and without clarity, caution kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Speaking of structure, there is a lot of emphasis on vetting world-class global citizens. How confident are you that this process will actually weed out the bad actors?
See, I think, and that is why we are there, because obviously they are going to be doing a thorough KYC. They are going to be doing a thorough checks to ensure no bad apples come into the country. The process overall is going to be very, very fast. I'm hearing within 1 month you can get your gold card. However, they will obviously ensure there is a thorough due diligence, all the clearances are obtained, a KYC is obtained. It's not a politically exposed person that is entering the country. There are no crimes that have been committed. So all these things, obviously, the government will take into consideration when any such card is being issued. We've seen some cases in Caribbean where second passports were issued, that a lot of people with criminal backgrounds actually entered the countries because it was easily being offered. So I think this could be one thing that the Trump's government will have to look into.
And some experts are also predicting that the gold card could spike demand for ultra high end real estate. How that might impact the way your clients invest and how you guide them?
Yeah, I was also listening to a podcast last week. I think it was by Lawrence Yun, if I'm not wrong. And he was also mentioning the same thing, that uh, the prices of real estate could actually jump in specific cities like New York, Miami, and it could actually have a very favorable thing for the people with existing properties. However, people might still want to balance their bets with equities or bonds to hedge against any market overreactions.
Okay. Okay, let's touch on a slightly more sensitive topic. Some critics argue that the gold card favors wealth over merit and undermines traditional immigration values. How would you navigate that with your clients?
See, I acknowledge the ethical tension. The program's wealth-based approach diverges from merit or family-based immigration, raising obviously questions about fairness. My role here is to present options objectively, right? Highlighting what the benefits of the program are, like obviously tax saving that we've discussed, and then also discussing risks and public perception. I always encourage the clients who have reached out to me thus far to consider their values and their broad societal impact, ensuring that the decision that they are going to be making aligns with their long-term goals. And I think for most of them who've reached out to me, their long-term goal was to settle in the US. So I think this program absolutely works out for them.
Totally fair. It's also about helping clients make informed choices, not just strategic ones, right?
Yeah.
But let's also talk about feasibility. Given that the complexity, congressional approval, immigration law, how realistic is all of this in this program, which and it will actually launch as it is advertised?
I think it's going to be launched as advertised. Some reports say that some cat amount of gold cards have already been sold. However, it's not public data as of yet. I think based on what Trump has said, he does not need a Congress approval, although it's a new program, a line of program that has to be added. but I definitely feel that it's going to come, and it's going to come very fast. There is a separate team that is working on the whole back end about the program, which is going to do all the document vetting, making sure the right person is coming into the country. So if they've started building the program, if they started building the infrastructure for the program, then definitely they will ensure that the program is launched.
What kind of client profile do you think is most likely to pursue the gold card? Is it about geography, assets, mindset?
Yeah, typically see countries, if you look at historical data, China, Middle East, Russia are the countries where the demand for golden visa is going to be high. Obviously, the client, because they're going to be investing $5 million, their net worth has to be almost 6 times. So you're looking at net worth of almost 30 million. The tax optimization, global mobility, and the US market access that the people are going to be getting is going to be a major decision factor. If you are in a business that wants you to be in the US, that wants you to have US market access, I think it's a great option. And also, I have been hearing that there are going to be companies who are going to be offering this gold card as part of their package to their senior executive. So we might see these things coming into picture too.
And if the program does go live,
Hmm.
what's the long-term value of a US residency or citizenship today, especially when it comes to mobility and taxes?
See, obviously, US residency offers unmatched access to markets, education, and stability. But citizenship's values tempered by global taxation. And when Trump's gold card brings the tax exemption on overseas income, then obviously the appeal for the program gets enhanced. And somebody who's an ultra HNI, he is definitely saving millions annually.
Okay. Do you think that Trump's brand helps or it hurts the appeal of the gold card amongst the global elites?
I think there are some wealthy elites that do admire his business persona, his business knowledge, and the entire empire that he's built. So a lot of people still look up to him, look up to his policy, the way he does business. And I think this gold card uh, is actually going to be perceived very well by those people.
So, if a client walked into your office tomorrow, ready to invest, what are some non negotiables you'd want them to consider?
Obviously, it is the financial commitment that comes first, right? They have to see whether they have the 5 million available to put into this program, or they would want to consider any alternate program such as the EB5 or the EU program. Then obviously we'll have to look into their long-term goals. I always sit with them trying to understand why are they looking for a US residency, and then we could also potentially suggest them few tax strategies. There are various options that are available, so we sit down, discuss with them if we have to establish a trust or a foundation, and then get the visa for the US. That solves their passport equation. Then we work with them to understand their trust and foundation, like you obviously discussed, but if there is a creation of will. So all it's a holistic picture that we'll have to sit and look into before we come into any decision, because obviously the amount is huge and it could have significant impact too.
Awesome. Kanav, thank you so much for your insight today. This was honest, thoughtful, and exactly the kind of clarity people need when considering a move like this.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I'm glad you found these inputs helpful, and I'm sure the audience who's listening to this podcast would also find a lot of knowledge in what I have been sharing. Obviously, the information on the internet is limited. People don't know what is going to come. But I've been reading a lot, listening to a lot of podcasts, listening to what has been happening behind the scene, and that is the basis of what all I mentioned today.
True. And to everyone listening, thank you for joining us for another episode of Wealth and Mobility, brought to you by Gallant and Toole. For more expert guidance or to speak with one of our advisors, visit galto.com. I'm Sarah, and we'll see you next time.